Alright guys, I'm going to attempt to make a kind of quick video and see if I can show you how I make these litho extrusion lamps, if you will. So this one I'm going to make it with the Colorado state flag, as you can see, and then just a sunset I did, I took on Instagram. So alright, let's get into it. So I'm just going to use Google, and we are going to search up the Colorado state flag outline. And I've recently moved to Colorado, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to look for one with the good thick letters, no thick lines, no letters or anything else. We'll use that one here. And although it looks like it's gray here, it just, I know it will work. So I'm going to save that picture as Colo logo. So we'll save that. And I like to use paint.net, so we'll open that up and take our logo. And you can see that it has no color in the background, so we'll fill that in with our paint bucket and our just white color and give ourselves a nice, good, solid outline. So we'll save that, and I'm going to use Lubon. We're going to use, I'm already on it, but we'll create Photo Magic, and we're going to use our extrusion method here, and we will find our picture that we want to use. So as you can see, I already have it set to some parameters. I'm going to extrude it up to 45. Typically when you bring it in, it will look just like you're in a little outline. But let's make our lamp 45. I chose 175 for my model. I know my printer bed, and this will be pretty good size for what I want to do. So we'll save this model, and I like to use 3D Builder. So of course you can see I already have one made. We'll make a new scene, and we'll add in our litho extrusion. So there we go. And you can see we already have the shape of our lamp and outline, and we will fill this in. So next thing you want to do is get our lithophane picture. So there's some pretty neat ones, of course. Like you can see, this is even just like the Colorado logo. But I'm going to do my own picture, and I will screen capture this and just edit that. So I'm going to snip now. I'll choose my sizing. And of course, you can choose whatever picture you may want to use. I'm going to try to get this as much as I can, and kind of the similar shape that I want. Of course, you know how the flag looks. So, all right, that should be good. All right, so I will save this as I did a Colorado sunset litho. I'll do this one. Colorado litho. Okay, so we saved our picture that we want to use. We're going to go back into Lubon. It does some great lithophanes, I'm going to tell you what. Alright, so we know our size of the extrusion was 175. We're going to create a lithophane now using Lubon. And that being done, I want to make it flat. We'll change our size in just a second. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to use our picture, slide it in. Now we have a model size of 199. I'm doing 175 of my extrusion, and I want to make sure that I am getting the right size where my frame will not interfere with my extrusion. So let's go with 210. Let's go with 220 just to be extra sure. So of course I print lithophane testers and thickness gauges. So you should do that with whatever filament you're going to use for your lithophanes. Of course, you can get some pretty good results here. I'm going to use a max thickness 2.8, a min of 1. So we'll save this lithophane, and we will go into our 3D builder and load that in. So now that we've pulled our lithophane into the program, the 3D builder, we're going to just lay that flat on its back. You can see we're going the right way. We want to lay it flat right where it is. Now, I always suggest, it's kind of recommended more than suggested, but work with your lithophane. Don't move your extrusion, because when we subtract this, we're going to want to keep that extrusion right in the same place. So we'll lay our lithophane flat. We settled the object to make sure it's flat as it is on the surface floor of the building program. Now we'll move this into place. Perfect. So you can see that my extrusion does not go over my frame. I could have done a little bit less, but that's okay. I just don't want any interference. I want the extrusion completely within the frame here, the size. So we're going to do this just about here, because we'll leave some light through our dark and our dark part. Try to keep with the flag colors. Our yellow will be right about the center, and we'll just try to make it look kind of neat, So, okay, now that we have it where we want it, we're going to take our extrusion, select it, we'll edit, and then subtract this. So you can see we have our cutout exactly where our extrusion is of our lithophane. So we'll take the excess, the outside edge here, make sure it's ungrouped. If you're selecting everything, you can't undo it. Ungroup it, and you'll select your excess and just delete that. Now we have our cutout right where we want it. So we'll reinsert our extrusion. Now, since we laid it right where it was last time, it goes directly where it needs to be. I like to select all. I hold Control and deselect my extrusion, and I move my pieces up. This is a good time. Now that you have your cutouts, you can move these objects wherever you want, but you want to keep these the same. Let's group them together. So now that we have our frame for the lamp and our extrusion litho pieces, we're going to make a rim for our pieces to sit on. So let's move this just out of the way, and we'll go back into paint. So we take our pictures. I like to auto level this so it's nice black and white. We use an effect and we do an outline. So my outline, I like to get the thickness right where the lines don't merge together, and where I can get them as thick as possible without merging. So let's do 3 and 55 for our picture, and we'll save this as something different because I want to always keep them a little different. So, Colorado logo outline. Okay, so now that we have an outline, let's go back into the bond. I'm going to need to use, remember that this is 220 in case you want to make a colored photo, later. You'll want to know your dimensions of your lithophane. So we're going to create, again, Photo Magic. Mine seems to stick on the side a little bit. We're going to pull in our outline photo. Keep the same sizing of all of that, but we can change this down back to a 4, just to kind of make ourselves lives a little easier in the next program. So now we have our outline. We'll save that model and go back into our program. So in our program, we'll load our outline. Okay, it will load in. Make sure you don't lose it within your other one. Now, same thing here. We're going to want to ungroup it and select our outside piece. That's excess. We don't want to do that one. We don't want this inside piece either. So now that that's done, let's group these all back together. Select them all. Don't forget any pieces. And let's move them to where they're flush. So we'll group those together. Looks about flush. Now that we say that we're the height we want, let's select those again. Just that one. And we're at 43. Let's go down about 4 millimeters. So let's go to 39. So our frame is going to sit that deep in there. So you know what, we can even go to, let's make it crazy, go 39.5. Okay, so now that we have all of them at the same height that we want, I ungroup them, and you can tell here that our outline has left us a little bit of a space. So individually, I'll select those and we'll check our scaling meter. We'll make sure it's unlocked. Now, as we go, we're just going to grab our edges and bring them right where we want them. Yeah, if I can get my camera right, I like to get them right to the edge. And we will do that with all of our pieces. You may need to fiddle with this a little bit if you get into your program and you slice it and it looks like there's nothing there. Your edges may be a little too thin and you need to respace where you might have put them. So I just like to get them touching, making sure I have no gaps. Now that I'm seeing this, I can, so a little bit slow process. If you have a better idea, do it. Definitely. So let's get this all settled in real quickly and continue on the way. So we give ourselves a rim, and mostly good. Now there's a bit of a trick you can kind of use for harder pieces, such as this middle, whereas if you want to get this rim, you lose space over here. And what I like to do for those harder ones, I had to do this on that SATX one, is you can cut, this will come in really thin with my thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this ring and I'm going to split it. And when I split it, I'll just do it on a 90-degree axis. And since I only want to move this kind of edge to give me a little bit more, I'm going to keep both and split. And then since I am ungrouped, we'll make this edge a little better. Mine wasn't too bad. Yours may be. And then I like to control and click and group those back together. Okay, so now that we have our rim, I like to make sure I don't accidentally give myself the chance to move them all. So I select them, I group them, and then I group it with the extrusion itself. So now we have our extrusion lamp with the rim and our lithophane pieces, and we can, although I am a little off, pardon me, we can see already that we are making progress with our lamp. So what we want to do now is we're going to give ourselves a back cap. So we'll go back into our thing here, and we just grab our paint bucket, turn it to a black color. Now this is going to be as a whole square rectangle because my shape just ended up being that way. Yours will be for whatever you do. Make sure you don't leak into your outside picture. But we want to do this so that we have a solid back. So I'm going to do this logo fill. I'm sorry, logo Um, outline logo fill. Pardon me, I can't think. Okay, so we'll go back into Lubon. We'll extrude our flat back. Of course, mine looks like just a rectangle. Yours will be your shape. Save it there again. Now we'll enter this into our area. All right, there we go. So now we have it is on there. Let's select our lithophane pieces as well as our extrusion pieces. Okay, and we were going to move that entire thing straight up. Keep them all together. So being that we have our surface to meet, we're going to go about halfway. Now, there's a couple different things you can do. This is one. I first did this and I learned the hard way. It sits very, very tightly. You'll notice that we can't subtract right now. That's because our lithophane pieces and extra pieces are not combined. Let's combine those, and that whole thing will be able to subtract from our back. So you can see our back now is a outline back cap of our extrusion. We have a cutout. Now, like I said, these lines will be very tight on your back cap. So what we're going to do is actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and copy this. So select again that piece and Control C. Let's copy that. Now we'll keep that in there. Again, subtract it. Okay, now since those lines are tight, we're going to go back to our outline picture, and we are going to fill in these lines. And when we fill in that outline, it's going to give us just a little bit more for our cut. So we're going to save that as an outline, fill. One more time into Lubon. I know a lot of different steps, but doing all these saves you such a headache in the long run when you're putting this all together. So one more time back into our and then let's make sure we put back our extrusion. We did cut it out. We just copied and pasted it back in, and we'll just move it out of the way for right now. So add our new outline fill extrusion. Okay, import that. Now bring it up about halfway where we were. You can see 3D Builder's sometimes good about snapping things in. Sometimes it's too much and you got to minutely do it. So now that we have that in there, we'll select just our outline extrusion and subtract it. Now we have a much better cutout for our extrusion lamp to fit in. Let's put it back in into space, place, and there we go. Now, if I move these lithophane pieces, of course I unselect them, just out of the way, you can come in here and you can see our edge of this outline much better. Now, looks like quite a bit, but when you print it and you're putting it together, it's going to be, just a few millimeters of space, and you'll want that looseness. I use hot glue gun to keep it in there, and it gives it removable and all that stuff. So there you have it. We have our lithophane box. We can see it there. And just for example, we will spin it and check out our new lamp. Now, what you'll want to do is separate the pieces once again. Like I said, when we do this, we're doing it all these steps to make it easy for ourselves later. We know everything fits together. We know, you can see I didn't do it very right. I'll have to go back and do that. Make sure you line yours up correctly. And yeah, just a matter of a couple reverses. But basically what will happen is I'll select these. I'll take them, excuse me, select all of these. And then, I'll save my lithophane pieces. I'll save just the back cap pieces, and then we'll do that. So when you do those things, one good thing I like to do for myself is I like to, bear with me, take my back cap, and granted, I do need to do my adjusting for my lineup there, but I like to take my back cap. Now, I know already I'm going to be using strip lights, LED strip lights, and wiring to connect them together. So, I won't waste too much time on how my design will be right now, but I'll just show you kind of a basic bit. So I'm going to have, I could drill this, but basically I know that I'm going to have a certain size. I can't remember it right now, but let's say I have a hole that I want to put there for my power cord. We'll do it 10 millimeters just for now, just for this example. And I'm going to want to put it in that back cap right, in the corner, because I know I want my power strip to come in there. So, of course, I moved down a little bit just to cut all the way through. And then I know also that when I want my strip lights to run through, I want to power all of them. So I'll trace it along this way. I'll have my wire connector come here and trace it along that way. So what I do is I like to set out my dimensions for my strip. Oops. I'll unlock it, my individual dimensions. Right now I don't know them. I can't think of them right now because I like to just be exact. Let's measure that. Put it 5, and then let's do 20. Oops. You know what? Let's do 150. Okay. And then we'll do the height again. Let's say 5 again. That will work for right now for what I'm trying to do. So I make where my channeling is going to be. And just for example, to save some time, I'll do 1. And say as I come along and I do my insert between the two, bear with me as I get into position, I know that my lights are going to come across this. As I do them, they will come across here. I'll have a wire run. I'll have another strip come through here. I won't have the strips passing through here, but through this connection here, I'll do another little block. So what I'm going to do with this is set it to my base. I put it kind of where I want. I just map my stuff out. Put it kind of where I want, and I select that object. Of course, me doing this by myself, it would have been a little bit sooner. Of course, I'm trying to do it for somebody else, and it takes forever. So, almost done here, guys. But basically, what I'm saying is, we'll put it on. We will put our frame extrusion lamp into position. We have it there. Now, you can tell this runs through. I'll select that block, edit, subtract. Now I have given myself a channel, and I'll do it a little lower, but just for example, you'll know I can run my wiring, my light strip, all those through this already. And by the time I give myself passes through here and my third, for my third light strip on the top, I will have a back cap that has a hole for my sticky strips, passage through my extrusion for my wiring and strips, and a rim to sit my lithophane pieces, which of course, just for sake of telling you guys, you'll individually put your pieces on your lithos down just to make them print the best. This one I would probably um, flip over, by the way, so just so we cover all bases in this, and give these litho pieces all, when they're individually printed, as a group, but individually printed, the best chance. So you'll print your litho pieces, save them together, you print your back cap, you save that together, you print your extrusion, and you put those pieces together. Your litho inserts will clip right down. You might need to sand a little bit. This will clip right in the back. Use a little bit of hot glue. You have a whole lamp. So sorry, took up a little bit of words, guys. I never made a video before. I hope you enjoyed it, and definitely let me know if you have any questions.